March 22nd, 1984, 5 high school students' lives were changed forever. They were brainwashed. And I'm sure a lot of people were brainwashed when they went into the movie theater in February of 1985, over 40 years ago at this point. And even though I was not old enough to experience The Breakfast Club in a movie theater, even though I really wish I did, in the many times that I've revisited this movie, I always discover something new about it, and I just wind up feeling inspired all over again. So here's your premise. You have 5 high school students from different walks of life enduring a Saturday detention under a power-hungry principal played by Gleason. And each one has a chance to tell his or her story over the 9 hours that they are stuck in this library. And by the end of the day, they all see each other a little bit differently. And there's a lot more deeper layers to being a brain, an athlete, a basket case, a princess, or a criminal. And this club becomes the unlikeliest group of friends you could ever imagine. John Hughes, as a writer and director, really had his finger on the pulse of his audience in every conceivable way. No matter who you find yourself the most relatable to out of these 5 kids, you will find something to relate to these people, no matter how different you may feel like you are from someone like John Bender. And there is not a single boring facet about these kids. Every single one has such a tragic backstory and very different reasons for being in this detention that I dare not spoil for those of you who've never seen it. But I'm sure most of you watching this video have. And my God, that scene where they're sitting around in a circle and just kind of going through their backstory, like, it just pains you in every way just seeing what these children are going through. Whether or not they are going to end up like their parents, who are just reaming into them day after day, pressuring them, while they all fit into what they feel like are the social norms of high school. And guess what? Every single line of dialogue feels so incredibly real. None of this feels fabricated. John Hughes is a director who would often do upwards of 5 to 10 different takes of each scene. And a lot of the takes he decided to put in the final cut would be just the actors bullshitting a lot of the time. It would be a lot of improv going on. But that's what makes The Breakfast Club so fantastic. The chemistry between these people is just so genuine. And a lot of the comedy that comes from this movie feels so incredibly natural. I remember when I first watched this movie, I must have been like 11, 12 years old when my dad finally decided to show this to me. I remember when the credits started rolling, when John Bender thrusts his fists up in the air. I didn't really get it. I was like, where's the pranking? You said that they were going to prank the principal. I feel like he kind of conned me into watching it. But you know what? I'm glad he did, as ignorant as I was. Because I was used to movies like Ferris Bueller, Home Alone, those John Hughes movies where you see lots of booby traps, lots of pranks going on. And don't get me wrong, The Breakfast Club has pranks. And there are shenanigans and slapstick that happen, like John Bender climbing through the school ceiling to get back to the library to get his dubage. But deep down, The Breakfast Club is more than that. It's a deep character study. And a lot like one of my other favorite movies of all time, 12 Angry Men, you are stuck in this library with these kids. And even though it's mainly dialogue and spoken word, you feel like they're fighting against something. And even though it doesn't feel like an action epic, you feel some sense of triumph when these kids leave detention. And I don't know if that has something to do with the phenomenal soundtrack that was selected for this. The Simple Minds song that plays on the radio and in my office at my day job almost on the regular. That song has become so iconic with coming of age and just... I love that song so much. Now let's talk about these performances one by one. I'm going to start with Molly Ringwald, actually, because she had just worked with John Hughes on 16 Candles. At the time The Breakfast Club released, 16 Candles came out the year before, and she plays the popular girl who struggles to fit in mainly because of peer pressure. Claire as a character, I honestly don't know if she's the least interesting of the bunch, because you don't really understand why she's in detention or what she even did to be there. She just kind of feels like the butt of the joke for John Bender a lot of the time, which can feel very dated for a lot of people. But I just so enjoy her performance and just how real she feels. Sheedy as well plays the basket case, and oh my God, like, you don't even learn this girl's name, I don't think. I don't even think the script even reveals her name. But a lot like 12 Angry Men, who you don't know these men's names throughout the entirety of the movie until the very end, she is still so freaking interesting. And the fact that she's an outcast because of how weird she is makes her even more interesting. And once she finally opens up her mouth, oh my god, compulsive liar out the wazoo, man. Like, I feel like if I was in a group of friends, like, I relate a lot to Ali Sheedy's character because I'm very much an instigator when it comes to joking around with people. She's very much like that. Let's also talk about Emilio Estevez, who I feel like this was his big introduction to the mainstream. He plays the pretty boy, the jock, the amateur wrestler, which I definitely loved because I'm a huge pro wrestling fan, as a lot of you know. And the movie is not afraid to make jokes about wrestling. All I need's a lobotomy and some tights. You wear tights? No, I don't wear tights. I wear the required uniform. Tights. But this honestly might still be the best Emilio Estevez has ever been on screen just because of how real he feels as well. When he's revealing why he's in detention and the pressure that his father puts on him to be a constant winner in life, it's just heartbreaking to watch. But along with that heartbreak, I feel like The Breakfast Club is so great, like, aside from the bevy of reasons I've explained so far, it finds a perfect balance between heartbreak and entertainment. Because this movie is so naturally funny. And a lot of that comes from Judd Nelson as John Bender. This guy, like, I would never have related to someone like John Bender when I was in high school. I would have been very, very petrified of him. But even though he might not be trying in regards to his academics, his grades are probably in the dumps. This guy might be the smartest guy out of all 5 of them. And it's revealed through his brutal yet blunt honesty. And I'll be honest, a lot of the memorable dialogue that comes from this movie comes from John Bender. Well, Brian, this is a very nutritious lunch. All of the food groups are represented. Did your mom marry Mr. Rogers? Does Barry Manilow know that you raid his wardrobe? And then, of course, you also have this scene.
Eat my shorts. What was that? Eat my shorts.
God, the facial expressions and the tension between those two is just palpable. And of course, you have poor Brian the nerd trying to interject himself into the situation and play peacekeeper. And I saved Anthony Michael Hall for last because I feel like, especially on this rewatch and in the years, especially in recent years, I feel like I relate the most to Anthony Michael Hall. Interesting connection to wearing a dark green sweater and having blonde hair and blue eyes. It feels like he's always looking for ways to fit into society, because as a dork, he feels like a complete outcast in his own right. Nobody wants to hang out with him because they feel like they're beneath him because of how smart he is. His whole monologue about being in the physics club is one of the funniest bits of the movie. So it's sort of social, demented and sad, but social. Right? And when Brian finally breaks down when Claire does not understand pressure, and that Brian could never understand pressure, God, it made me tear up this time. God, Anthony Michael Hall was so good in this movie. Also worked with John Hughes in 16 Candles with Molly Ringwald. So they already had that chemistry stemming from that project. Like, even the principal in this movie had some relatability. Paul Gleason was so damn good in this role. Don't mess with the bull, young man. You'll get the horns. You're mine, Bender. For 2 months, I gotcha. I gotcha. I'm gonna knock your dick in the dirt. Yeah, can you tell this movie is so f***ing quotable? Tells you how good this guy's dialogue is. And listen, I'm not gonna sit here and agree with this principal's practices and getting one over on these kids, but his reasoning feels pretty logical. He doesn't make enough money to deal with these twerps. $31,000 a year, especially in 1984, I don't know what that inflates up to in 2025, but I still don't think that would be enough. Actually, I'm going to look this up. Hold on. $31,000 in 1984 to 2025. Let's see. Oh, okay, yeah. That equates to about $96,582 a year. That's still a pretty decent salary. But again, maybe still not enough. Teachers do not get paid enough. But I think in the simplest terms and most convenient definitions, The Breakfast Club is one of the greatest coming-of-age movies of all time. And it's not a movie that necessarily is trying to be the greatest coming-of-age movie of all time, because it's got very minimal resources. Most of this movie is shot at the school, and most of the scenes are shot in this library. But you still get such a great, triumphant feel when this movie wraps up. And no matter how much you think you can't relate to somebody like a John Bender, like an Ali Sheedy, this movie will make you feel those things. And it's gonna feel like the best brainwashing of your life. In case you haven't guessed by this point, The Breakfast Club is, of course, getting an A+. Rest in peace, John Hughes. You are sorely missed, my friend. Let me know what you think of The Breakfast Club down in the comments section below. What do you think is the best line that was given in this movie? Who do you relate to the most in this film? As always, I love getting in front of this camera and talking all things in movies, cinema, television, anything entertainment related. It just makes me feel so alive getting in front of this camera and getting to talk with you guys. So hit that subscribe button if you're new. Tap on that thumbs up as well. That would be greatly appreciated. No shortage of topics to be had over here in the entertainment world. Thank you so much again for your support. And with all that being said, Back Talk commence. And don't you forget about me.